Hello, welcome back to another video. I'm so sorry if it says I got really loud, and I don't know why. I'm tired from the last story. If you watched Wednesday's video, of which, if you're watching the series, you should have watched Wednesday's video. This one is going to be posted on Saturday, even though it's going to be posted, the 22nd? I am going to put some space in between each post of video. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but it makes it easier on me. I can get a bunch of recordings in for you to enjoy, and then still get long breaks in between while you are still getting content. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense to me. So, today we are reading His Reasons. It's a Todoroki X-Rated fanfic by AshleyH713. We're reading Season 4, Chapter 10 today, which is Part 46. Yes, it's midday, so I'm going to be a little louder, even though there is an infant taking a nap right now. I'm pretty sure. I think that's what's going on. I don't know. I've been in here for a couple hours. I was jamming out to music and Sims gameplay. Let's see, where is it? If you're just listening to this, then I will read it to you. I'm listening to the Pina Colada song. And I can't play that because of copyright. I was enjoying that while uploading and scheduling the video that's gonna post Wednesday to post. So, yeah. Again, I still got water. I didn't really refill it. I just only drank a little bit of it. I was fueled by my own tears in the last one. No, I didn't. It's a joke for those who don't know how to take a joke, or I've been told my sarcasm is bad, so yeah, okay. Let's begin. Stepping into Endeavor's car, the man signaled the driver before the two of them drove off to Sir Night-Eye's agency. The whole time Amari was playing with her hands, the anxiety in her chest not going away but instead increasing. She knew she couldn't mess this up for herself and for Eri. The hero watched his trainee tap her fingers against the side of the car, the awkward atmosphere continuing as he frowned. I'm gonna stand up so I can get off of this squeaky chair. The awkward atmosphere continued as he frowned. "Would you stop that?" Amari immediately stopped then, realizing what she was doing, and muttered, "Sorry, I guess I'm kind of nervous, I talk big, but rescuing that little girl isn't going to be easy. I'm just so worried I'm going to mess it up somehow." He thought about her words for a moment before sighing heavily, like a question bothered him. "Where's that annoying amount of confidence you usually have?" Grimacing, Amari answered, "I don't know, I guess there is just a lot of writing on this, and I would do anything to save that girl. But what if it's not enough? What if we fail?" That's sad. Endeavor was silent for a moment, like he was debating what he was going to say. That is, until he opened his mouth. "Bakugo, if you don't have the confidence in yourself, then how do you expect that girl to have the same? If you want to be a hero, then you have to push forward no matter how little chances seem." Nodding back, the girl realized he had a point. If she didn't have hope, then Eri would also fall into despair, and that was one thing she refused to let happen. "Yeah, I hate that you're right." Endeavor took her compliance as a surprise, knowing how hard it was for the girl to ever agree with him. Then he remembered his son's pleading and strange eyes. "I'm honestly surprised you are still with the agency, given the quarrel you had with Shoto. Didn't he try to convince you to leave already?" Mari looked down at that, her eyes squinted. "I'm not backing away from this. I refuse. Regardless of how much I love him, I don't think he's completely right about you." At that, the hero raised an eye. "Oh, how so?" But the girl only remained silent, knowing if she said anything about him not being completely terrible, that it would only boost his ego. No, that wasn't something she could tell him right now. "No reason, just know that you aren't getting rid of me so easily, Endeavor." She smirked then, causing the man to groan in frustration, although there seemed to be something else there as well. Was that pride? "I was afraid of that." Mari laughed back, only to realize something important, her eyes growing wide as she fumbled with her belt buckle. "Oh crap, I forgot my hero costume back at the dorms." Hearing the clicking of the seatbelt, the girl then began to rise as Endeavor pushed her back down, his voice rough, stopping her movements. "Stop that, you're going to cause an accident," although Amari only frowned. Endeavor, I can't go in there without a costume. I'll be the only one there without one and sticking out like a sore thumb. We have to go back. That's what you're worried about right now, really? That was when the man nodded his head in understanding before reaching forward and grabbing a large briefcase next to him. I know. He lifted the case out to the girl, who only stared at it dumbfounded. What is this? The manly frown, though, obviously over her confused look. Just open it, Bakugo. Staring back down at the leather casing, Amari gently clicked open the tabs before lifting the surface, gasping at the contents. In the case was 3 pieces of fabric, both black and gold in color. She took each idea out of the case one by one, examining the fabric with disbelief. This was a hero costume. Endeavor, what? The hero cut her off, though, pointing to the fabric. If you are going to represent my agency, then you have to upgrade your suit. My support sidekicks have made it so the fabric is flame-resistant to your explosions and can conserve your energy easier in combat. That way you won't die as easy when you activate your quirk. Touching the costume lightly, Amari felt tears well up in her eyes. Endeavor designed this just for her. His words may have been rude, but she now realized that deep down, this man may have had a heart. All the hatred she had for Todoroki's father suddenly went out the window for a moment, now wanting to thank the man for giving her this chance, this hope of being a hero. Thank you, Endeavor. She cried into the fabric as the hero just looked confused and slightly frightened at the display of emotions. Baku, stop it, you're going to get snot on the fabric. Although the girl could only shake her head, now reaching forward to hug Endeavor in a sloppy embrace as she cried, much to the hero's dismay. Thank you. Endeavor jumped at the action, already trying to pry the hysterical girl off of him. His driver smirking under his breath at the scene. No one had ever been brave enough to actually try and hug the man before. Don't touch me, you child. What is wrong with you? Mari pulled away then, an embarrassed look on her face before muttering back as she dried her tears. Sorry, I'm just really happy. Thanks for believing in me, Endeavor. It really means a lot. Still looking fairly uncomfortable, the man then dusted off his costume. She's dirty. He's gotta dust his shoulders. Dusted off his costume before replying. I wouldn't call it believing, but if that is what you would like to refer to it as, then I suppose this was only for the image of my company, nothing more. He was being rude again, but Amari could see the meaning in his words and smiled. Whether it was for this company or not, the fact still remained. He had made this for her. Just then the driver called out loudly, stopping their conversation. We have arrived. Endeavor nodded his head then, pointing towards the door. Very well. Meet me in the agency once you finish changing. Amari then watched him leave the car as she stared down at the costume once more before smiling to herself. Then she pulled out the necklace that her brother had given her, the orange hue, encouraging her next steps. Lifting the necklace up, Amari then closed the clasp around her neck before gathering up her new hero costume. It was time to get serious. That was cute. Started off with a good one. Yep. Deku and the rest of his classmates in the Big Three were muttering to themselves while waiting for the upcoming meeting to start. Shinada was in the corner talking to Endeavor as the other pro heroes were mingling about. Squeaky chair. Just then the door opened to their left and Deku turned only to find Amari walking into the space, a nervous hand on her necklace in the process. A couple pros double-taked in her direction as the girl moved up to their group. That's when they noticed it. Her hero costume was different than before. Her sleeveless black jacket was now gone, replaced by a form-fitting black jacket with sheer sleeves and a sparkling gold half shirt underneath. Her pants were also black in color, form-fitted to her size as a bright orange necklace wrapped around her throat. It was like her aura had changed completely, now radiating off something more serious than before. It kind of made Deku shiver. She smiled softly in their direction as Mirio wrapped an aggressive arm around her shoulder, whistling at the sight. Whoa, would you could look at you. The Angry One sister has upgraded. Very impressive. The Angry One sister. Feeling slightly self-conscious, Amari replied, Ah, thanks, Muriel. Endeavor made it for me. At that, Deku's eyes widened, a dumbfounded expression on his face. He knew that Todoroki's dad was training Amari, but he never would have expected the man to do something so kind. Wait, really? That's really awesome, Amari-chan. It seems like you and him are getting along really well. Amari's lips couldn't help but curve upwards at that. I don't know about Midoriya, but we can tolerate each other, at least. I don't know about what? Whatever. At least it's a start. The green-haired boy smiled back, seeing the happiness in her eyes when Sir Nighteye interrupted them, speaking out towards the crowd. Now that everyone has gathered, it's time to talk about the investigation. Everyone immediately grew silent as all the UA students took their places in their assigned seats, Amari next to Endeavor, of course. Many heroes have worked tirelessly to find the hideout of Chisaki, and I am pleased to say that after many hours of searching, we may have found just that. Leaning forward in her seat, Sir Nighteye pushed a button on his remote, only for a very large projection on a building displayed behind him. The building itself looked ginormous, stretching to a ridiculous size. We believe this is where he is hiding that girl. Now we must figure out a plan before we can commence the rescue. The heroes began to mutter to themselves, coming up with various ideas and strategies, only for them to be struck down one by one. They all took too long. The plans were too safe to be completed in enough time. They could lose her at this rate. Playing with her hands, Amari frowned before speaking out. We have to act on this quickly, or else we risk Chisaki finding out about our intel and moving Eri to another location. As much as he disliked the girl, Sir Nighteye nodded his head back. Ember's correct. We can't risk something too flimsy either. Then our efforts will be in vain. Another hero piped in then. But the building is enormous. We would have to know the exact location of the girl before even thinking about a raid, Izawa lazily replied. He's right. Knowing the location of the child, the villain could easily move her to another building or country. We can't afford to attack the wrong area. Sir Nighteye took in the hero's ideas and placed his hand in front of him. They were all right. Without knowing the location of Eri, it would be hard to plan such a large raid. Does anyone have any input? Looking down at her hands, Amari suddenly got an idea. It was kind of crazy, and she knew everyone would probably be against it, but it had to be thrown out there. Letting her voice speak up, Amari then stood up from her seat, showing that she was serious as the other heroes paused. What if we had someone on the inside of the operation? Sir Nighteye raised a brow at that. Meaning? Amari continued, plain and smooth. If we had someone inside the building, they could find out the exact location of Eri and make sure she's in the area when the raid occurs. That way, we'd have more reliable information than just guessing. The heroes all began to think about her idea. Some nodded their heads in agreement, while others frowned at the risk. Aizawa being the latter. But in order to do that, we would need to give Chisaki something of value, or else he'll just kill the spy. That was true. It was already risky, without Chisaki possibly killing the informant. Whoever got captured by him would have to have some sort of draw to them, something that would make him want the spy alive. Deku looked around the room, confusion on his features. He didn't think that there would be anyone like that. Well, that was until Amari raised her silently, causing the entire class to gasp. If you're looking for something of value, then it's me. The room silenced then, allowing Sir Nighteye to frown as Amari continued, her fist balled at her side. I was tied to All for One once and somehow. Chisaki knows about my past, along with tricking the League for those plans. I know I have caught the negative interest of many villains. They would want me alive. At that, all of the pros began speaking loudly against her plans, one of them pointing an accusing finger at that. Are you suggesting we let a child willingly taken by one of the most dangerous Yakuza members in Japan right now? Absolutely not. She doesn't even have a license. Deku also seemed shocked, standing up as well, desperation in his voice. Mari-chan, what are you saying? That's too dangerous. The girl only frowned, though, shaking her head in response. It might be, but think about the logistics. If we sit around and wait, then we risk Chisaki taking Eri. All of your plans take weeks. If I go to their hideout, we can get her back within a couple days. Aizawa replied back, though, just as cruel and dark. If you don't come back, then we are risking our licenses and our agencies all at once. Never mind UA losing another student. I understand your desire, Bakugo, but it is too risky. Slamming her fist down on the surface, the girl argued back. Exactly why it has to be me. Chisaki is smart, so he would know a trap when he sees one. But with the risk, he would never guess that a licenseless girl could be a spy. He thinks heroes go by the book, so if we completely change that, then they'll never know what is coming. She had a point, a very scary point. Any villain would be suspicious about a spy, but heroes weren't known to send licenseless kids into the battlefield unless they acted on their own. It could be perfect cover, if it even worked. Sir Night-Eye stood up, glaring through his glasses. What you are suggesting puts all of our agencies at risk. You aren't even supposed to be in this meeting if you don't have value. If you do have value, as you say, then it would be foolish to hand you to a villain so willingly. Amari narrowed her eyes then, just as Endeavor spoke up. His arms crossed to his chest. If you think her plan is too foolish, then why don't you use your quirk on her, Sir Night-Eye? Then you can see if it will succeed or not. The girl glanced at her mentor before smirking. Oh, he was smart. She would have never thought of that, although the man only glared, standing up from his chair before making his way over to her, playing with the idea. If I use my quirk, then it will be ineffective for the rest of the day. That could cause us some major setbacks. Mari shook her head in response, reaching out her hand so that Night-Eye could activate his quirk easily, coaxing him to touch her palm. But if this idea will work, then it is something we can't ignore. Go ahead, touch me, and tell me if my plan is foolish or not. Staring down at her palm, Sir Night-Eye sighed heavily before grasping the small girl's hand and staring into her eyes to activate his quirk. After a couple moments, the man's eyes suddenly grew wide, stumbling back a few steps like he was afraid. A small shake to his hand. Huh? All for one? Amari's eyes widened at the name, barely hearing it from his lips before the man shook off his fear when Endeavor spoke. Well, what is it? Sir Night-Eye then stated at the girl with an unreadable expression before his gaze tore away from her. And Ember is correct. The plan will be successful. The pros began to speak loudly at that, wondering if they were really going to let a little girl willingly put herself in such a dangerous situation. But if Sir Night-Eye said it would work... Night-Eye's voice returned then, stronger than before. Ember, you will wear an earpiece so we can be in communication at all times. You will also be injected with a small tracking device in order to mark your location. You will find the girl and wait for instructions. Nothing else. You will not engage Chisaki unless necessary, and you will not engage in combat with anyone unless you feel yourself in a life-threatening situation. Do you understand? Amari nodded her head, a serious gaze now transfixed on her face. Yes, I understand. Sighing heavily, the man then replied, Very well. We will start tonight, then. Once we receive the information, the raid to retrieve Eri will commence tomorrow. Meeting dismissed. Let me move some stuff around. Hold on. The pros all began to stand from their seats then, some glancing at Amari as she passed, while others just ignored her completely. Obviously, her plan wasn't very popular. Suddenly, she was knocked back a few feet as Deku rammed into her in a fearful hug. Amari-chan, are you going to be okay? You'll be going to that villain's hideout alone and... Although the girl responded by placing a warm hand on his hand, rubbing the spiky green surface on his head, rubbing the spiky green surface with her index finger. Hey, calm down, Midoriya. It'll be okay. I wouldn't have suggested it if I couldn't handle it. That girl has been living with that man for who knows how long. I think I can handle a couple hours. She said that, but internally Amari was panicking. The girl made her plan on a whim, but actually thinking about it, she felt a small bit of anxiety in her chest. If she went to the hideout, then it might dig up unwanted memories that she had been shoving down all this time. But then again, if it could save Eri faster, then she would endure it. Everyone's faces still seemed perturbed as well, Deku shaking his head. But what if you don't come back? Think about Kachan or Todoroki. What would they say? Frowning in response, Amari then remembered both Todoroki and Bakugo's words as she left today. They believed in her, counted on her. There was no way she was going to let them down. I already made a promise that I'd come back, so I will. That's all there is to it. Amari was really brave, so much so that it made the green-haired boy kind of falter. She was willing to go into a villain's hideout. And what was he doing? Waiting on the sidelines, watching from afar? That wasn't what a hero does. She noticed his frown, calling back to the boy in concern. Midoriya, what's wrong? Staring at the floor, Deku muttered back brokenly. You're doing so much, Amari-chan. I just wish I could help out more. Amari watched the boy fall apart before him, before lowering her eyes and grabbing his hands firmly. Hey, listen. Once I find Eri, I'm going to need you to help me save her, okay? I can't do this alone, Midoriya. I need you. She needs you. I know for a fact that she needs a hero named Deku. At that, Deku's eyes watered up with tears, reaching forward and hugging the poor girl in a suffocating embrace. Yeah, let's go save Eri together. Rubbing small circles on his back, Amari nodded. Yeah. Then, let's go tell Shoto and Katsuki about it, okay? The boy smiled underneath her shoulder, then nodding back as he detached himself. We won't let her slip through our fingers again, Mari-chan. Just then, Deku's face turned red, shaking his head as he cried back, I mean, Amari-chan, sorry. At the new name, Amari couldn't help but giggle, smiling back. It's okay. It actually has a nice ring to it. It makes me feel like we actually grew up together, like with Katsuki's nickname. Just then the girl got another idea. I guess that means I should call you Deku now, if that's the case. She meant it as a joke, but the boy couldn't help but like the sound of that, knowing that she meant it in a hero sense, not in an insult sense like before. I wouldn't mind. Then it would really feel like we grew up together. Mari's eyes widened slightly at his words before settling for a small giggle, answering back softly. All right, then, Deku. Are you ready to be a hero? Deku couldn't help but smile widely then, also enjoying the new name for the girl. He didn't know why, but it made them feel closer somehow. More than anything, Mari-chan. Made him feel like they could do anything together. It's gonna get spooky. What is wrong with me? Approaching the dark, ominous building, Amari and Deku walked side by side in silence. It was decided that he would accompany her to the gates until the cameras caught sight of them. Then he would have to hide, since it was supposed to look like she arrived alone. Deku squeezed his hands by his side, and she could feel his panicked energy, even though they were a couple feet away. It wasn't really helping. Deku, you know I'm the one that's getting captured by villains, right? Why are you so nervous? Shaking his head, the boy took her playful nature and forced a smile. Sorry, Mari-chan. I guess I'm just worried about everything. I just want everyone to be okay. Aren't you scared about this at all? His words were sweet. It caused the girl to sigh back in response, now staring at her hands, noticing they had a small shake to them. Honestly, I'm terrified. But if this will help Eri, then I would do it in a heartbeat. Deku thought about that, now recalling the scars on her back. He really wanted to know about the girl, but he was afraid that his words were too personal. Hey, Mari-chan? Amari turned her head back only for the boy to continue, small and quiet. What you said back at the meeting, and about what Chisaki told you in the alleyway, were they true? Stopping at the question, Deku noticed Amari turned pained and conflicted. Yeah, it was true. That's why I wanted to help Eri so much, because I see myself in her. His eyes widened at that, picturing Amari being tortured and hurt like Eri was. He didn't like even thinking about it, so much so that he put a small hand to her arm then. Then, while you were in America, nodding back, Amari replied, I was experimented on, trained to become a weapon against heroes. I listened because I thought I would make Katsuki love me, that he would see my strength and finally want me as a sister, but it turns out that wasn't true at all. Deku's eyes saddened then, his chest twisting in pain at her words. All this time, Amari had been fighting for her brother's approval, so that's why she always seemed so serious, so determined about pushing herself. It was heartbreaking. I'm so sorry, Mari-chan. If only I knew, then I could have helped somehow. Although he stopped when Amari put her hand up, a small smile reaching her cheeks. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. Because of that, I found people that truly care about me, love me for who I am, and that's why I want to give the same to Eri. I want to show her that it's possible to change and that anyone can be a hero, even people like us. A hot ball of emotion entered his throat then, Deku now suppressing the urge to cry. Same. Fucking same. The girl had gone through so much, yet she was still standing strong. It made him feel even more determined than ever to be a hero now. Just then the two reached a large gate blocking their view, now seeing a huge dumpster to the left-hand side. On further inspection, it looked to have a bunch of old clothes and trash shoveled inside. On further inspection, Deku grimaced. Mari-chan, look. Some of them are covered with blood. Mari narrowed her eyes as well, frowning at the sight. These must be from his workers. He probably wants to erase the evidence. A sick sensation entered the boy's stomach then. Rethinking this plan as Amari took out a small device before placing it in her ear, the object disappearing once it made contact. All right, it's now or never. Just then, Endeavor's voice entered through her ear, rough and plain. Bakugo, go ahead and enter the gates. Try to look serious, and don't draw any attention to the boy. Remember, they need to think you are working alone. His orders made the girl smile in amusement, though. Anything else you'd like to add, Mom? She could make out his frustration on the other side clear as day, now seeing even Deku trying to hide a smile. This is serious. Stop fooling around already. Rolling her eyes, the girl then turned serious, eyeing the large gate with disdain. I already told you, I don't intend to play around. Then she turned to Deku before nodding. Well, here I go. I'll see you tomorrow, Deku, okay? A pang of worry entered his chest, but the boy shoved it down, nodding back in approval. Yeah. See ya, Mari-chan. Amari smiled back before using her explosions to propel herself over the wall before landing in a light tap. Now she was in his territory. There was no going back now. Sneaking around the sides, the girl purposely caught herself on one of the cameras before a loud and ear-bleeding alarm rang out throughout the space. She had to cover her ears at the noise. It was so loud. Just then, about a dozen men surrounded the poor girl. Amari frowned back, as if to get into character. Shit. One of them spoke rough and dark, eyeing her with disdain. Who are you? You are on private property. Amari took a moment before readying her stance, a sign to tell them that she wasn't going to give up. My name is Bakugo Amari, and I am here for Eri. The man raised an eyebrow at that, the name sounding familiar to his ears. You made a grave mistake, little girl. Then they took off running, Amari turning around and racing through the outside of the building as she tried to get in to find the girl. She purposely tried a couple locked doors before turning around at the sound of the man's voice. The boss will want to get a look at you, you know, before he kills you. Frowning back, Amari then let her palms pop in warning as she threw her fist down, the explosion blowing the man back a couple feet. Yeah, I don't think so. Suddenly, though, she was surrounded by 20 more men, all circling around her with their quirks outstretched. Usually this would be very bad, knowing that the girl couldn't overpower all of them, but because she was trying to get captured, now she could go all out and make it look like she was fighting for her life. Perfect. They all came barreling at her at once. Mari immediately felt hands on her back, legs, and arms, forcing her to the ground as she screamed. No, that couldn't get her that easily. Activating her quirk, the gold matter covered her arms. All the men let go all at once, seething from their newly acquired burns. Mari then tried to get to her feet, almost succeeding as she felt one of them latching onto her hair, yanking the surface and pulling her back in pain. There were too many of them for her to fight. She turned around and threw another explosion when a man behind her landed his fist square in her back, causing the girl to seize in shock before crumbling to the ground. That asshole had just hit her spine. Landing with a thud, Amari then felt the hands on her again, pushing her body into the grass as she struggled, one muttering to his coworkers. Should we just kill her now? Deku watched from the sidelines, his fist ready to leap in action in case they did actually decide to kill her instead. There was no way he was going to let that happen, over his dead body. Suddenly the man got a call in their earpiece, narrowing their eyes before replying. "It seems like the boss wants a word with you." Mari frowned back before successfully burning the closest foot to her right. "Get your hands off me!" But the man only smirked before slamming his hand into her back, causing a sharp electric current to go through her body. She screamed at the sensation before falling unconscious and unmoving. "Just take her." Complying then, they quickly pick up Amari before carrying her inside. Deku's eyes narrowed at the action. She did it. She made it inside. Just then, Sir Night-Eye's voice echoed through his earpiece. "What's the status?" Watching the doors close behind him, Deku answered back stern and plainly. "Infiltration successful." Now, it was all up to her. Oh, yeah, that was short. I felt like it was shorter than usual. Different than how anime goes. I want to try and make a story different while this is sticking with the theme of the original. This is going to feed into the plot of the anime. Just going to wait to see how Mari is now a girl hideout. Oops. Oh, she can fly in the air and lead the heroes to the location quickly. Man, Todoroki knew about the splendor of Bakugo. Things will be getting messy, but that would never happen, right? Foreshadowing! I read that. I don't know if you could hear me whispering that. Okay. Check out their stuff. AshleyH713. Good stuff. I felt like that was shorter for some reason. Maybe I read it faster, or I'm just too tired to realize that it wasn't actually shorter by any means. Should probably put out my candle. It's been burning for a little bit. Yep, that was good stuff. This is going to be posted Saturday the 22nd. Yep. So, happy Saturday. I hope it's a good Saturday. I'm going to post this probably about noon. Yeah, probably about right then. So, I hope you're enjoying your lunch while listening to my terrible reading. And the fact that I can't stop laughing through these for whatever reason. They're really funny. I guess it's easier when you're trying to be quiet not to laugh because you know you're going to wake someone up, but I don't outright have to be quiet right now. So, I'm finding them really funny. Yep. Check out their stuff, and you will hear me in the next video. Bye-bye.